What's up everyone, it's Alex and I'm here to show you how to cut up the whole bird. We're going to be using the entire chicken and I'm going to show you a few techniques that's going to make it really simple and really easy for you to execute. So get your gloves if you don't want to touch that chicken and let's get into it.
Alright, we're going to start by using a young bird. You can use any size bird that you get at the supermarket, but for these purposes I just used a young bird. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just the right size. Alright, go ahead and flip over your bird and then take a paper towel and just pat dry whatever moisture or liquid that you have on there. Then you're going to take out the inner organ meat that they've left in there. Some birds have this in there. They put it in a little package and they, stuff it in the middle of the cavity. But you can take that out and just place it to the side. And you know what? You can use that meat for a lot of different things. Also, some birds are going to have that neck still attached. Sometimes it's in that box or that bag right there. But sometimes it's still attached and it's totally fine. No worries. Just leave it on the back there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and just pat that chicken dry. You'll need a couple paper towels. This guy was a little bit bloody, but we'll pat him down. And, use as many as you need. After we cut up the chicken, I will wash it before I cook it and everything. But for these purposes, we're just going to pat him down so he's not too wet. Alright, before we start cutting, I want you to learn the anatomy of the chicken. You have two breasts, and then you have two legs, one leg on the left side with the thigh underneath, and then you have the other leg on the right side, thigh underneath. We'll talk about that. And then we also have two wings right there. And then if we flip the bird over, you're going to have the spine, and that'll be important to keep later, and I'll explain that. Now look, I want you to see where my fingers are. We're going to trace along the joints of the back of the chicken. These joints are very important for you to learn how to cut the chicken because you're not cutting through bone. You're going to be cutting right through those joint areas where it's very nice and smooth. You shouldn't have any sawing when cutting this chicken. Same thing with the wings, right through the joints, just like that. Another important step before we start cutting this bird, I want you to get out your sharpest knife. You can have a specialty knife that you keep in its own container like I do. It's got a really sharp blade because I don't want you sawing, going back and forth with a dull blade on this chicken. Okay? You want to sharpen whatever knives you have to the best of their ability. You don't want to saw back and forth. One nice swipe is what you're looking for. Okay? So make sure you invest or sharpen those knives before you start. Alright, let's get going. Alright, now that my knife is sharp, or your knife is sharp, you're going to start on the left side with the breast side up of that chicken. This is the side that I normally start on. I'm going to have the leg right in my left hand, and then I'm going to cut right through that skin. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. I want you to see something. There's a bone right there. That is the thigh bone. So you're going to take your hand, and you're going to place 4 fingers right behind that thigh bone, and you're going to push upwards. That bone is going to pop right through that meat. Okay? Next, you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut in a nice curved shape, not a C shape, but just an arch shape along the outside of that bone. Okay? See where I'm tracing? Go right in, cut around that bone, press down, should cut off that skin very easily. And now you have a leg quarter piece. You have your leg and you have your thigh. We'll separate those later. Let's try the other side. Flip it around. This time it's going to be a little bit backwards. I like to use my left hand to guide everything. Right hand to cut. Hand behind, pop that bone out. You see it right there. And you're going to go from the bottom this time. Right behind that spine area. Cut both sides. Go around that bone. Cut through the skin. And now you have your second leg quarter. Perfect. Those look great. You didn't lose too much meat and everything's intact. Next, we're going to go ahead and start cutting off those wings. This is the next part. So you're going to find the wing and what you would call kind of the armpit, and you're going to go in a V motion. Now see, his wing drummet was a little bit longer than I expected, but that's okay. We went through that knob just a little bit. Make another V on the other side and continue cutting. It wasn't perfect, but that is how you get that wing off. Let me show you on the other side. This time I'll adjust it because I think his limbs, or should I say his bones, are a little bit longer than I was expecting on that guy. All right, so I'm going to start in the armpit, go down in a V, go on the other side, outside of that knob, and then cut through. And it should pop off right nice and easy, and there you have it. You got your wing, you got your drum mat, and your flat and your wing tip right there. Perfect. Now, we're going to go and we're going to do the breast. Everything's still intact. We still have the spine intact. You want to leave that. That's a good base before you start your breast. Now, the goal of the breast meat is to keep that skin on. Everybody doesn't want that hacked off because sometimes you want to make a dish with that skin on. So make sure you find that breastbone, guiding your thumbs down the middle. I found the breastbone, and then I'm going to go ahead and just place my fingers there and slice right on the outside of that breastbone, going straight down, then lifting, and then cutting one more time. Now open that flap, and then you're not going to go at an angle. You're going to go to kind of straight down and then glide it right off, and you're going to have that nice piece of breast meat. That looks great. And I'll talk to you about a little bit about that flap a little bit later. When you cut off that breast meat, make sure you keep that tenderloin intact. All right, I put my fingers in that little groove where there's a hole, and then I'm going to go make a little notch and slice down, lift and slice, lift and slice. Now you see where there's two lobes. Right there where my thumb is, there's a lobe, and then there's the rest of the breast. Those are normally called tenderloins. Yes, that's the tenderloin, or I would say that's the chicken tender that you get. And you want to keep that intact because I just want to have the whole breast together. And keep that carcass. We'll talk about how we're going to make a chicken broth out of this carcass. You want to keep that, freeze it, stay in the freezer for up to 3 months in a nice Ziploc bag. Now we're going to talk about separating that thigh and that drumstick. You can see where I folded it that there's a joint right there, okay? And then there's a joint right on the other side. Squeeze that drumstick and that thigh together, and then take your knife and make a little groove. Don't go straight through. Just find the groove first. So that is like your little pattern, okay? Then I'm going to flip it over and make sure I know where my line's going to go. And I'm going to go straight down and then a little bit of a diagonal on that drumstick. Remember, drumsticks are not perfectly, unified at the end. They have that little slope. So cut at that slope and you have that nice thigh. The whole bone's intact. The skin is still on and it looks great. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this one. But I'm going to tell you, I made a mistake, and that's okay. I want to show you what mistake you could make. So I didn't follow my groove. Did you see that? I've done it so many times. But that bone on that thigh was a little bit longer than I had anticipated. So I wanted to show you this because I make mistakes also. So instead, I flipped it over. I didn't keep cutting through the bone. I found the full groove, and I went straight down. And then the cut is still there. All right, the skin is still attached. Everything still looks great. And I didn't hack it up. And it's okay to make a mistake. You're gonna make mistakes sometimes, but the overall goal is to get this chicken cut up and have all your pieces. We have 2 nice thick pieces of breast meat, 2 drumsticks, 2 wings, and 2 thighs. I think they look fantastic and it's gonna be great. Now let's talk really quick about this leftover, should we say, organ meat or the chicken gizzards. You can use all of this meat. I'm telling you, sometimes we just fry up the chicken gizzards and eat them as a snack. Now the liver, sometimes I've cooked with that and I've put it in my gravy. Those are some other videos that you can catch on my feed, and I'll talk to you about how to get it done. And then you also want to use that chicken carcass. Remember I said save it, put it in a Ziploc, and you can make a beautiful broth out of that. I hope you enjoyed this. You've got this chicken thing. Keep practicing and you're going to get it down.
And that's it. That's how you cut up a whole chicken. You got this. You're going to do it. Practice, practice, practice. Any chance you get, take that opportunity to get into it. All right? I'll see you next time on Cooking with the Butter Babe. Bye-bye.